Bow, 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 bow. Too sweet. August 11th, 2014 marks the return of the nWo. If I was a smart guy, I would have put on my damn nWo shirt for this video, but I promise you, I will wear it tomorrow to work. For Hulk Hogan's birthday and for my birthday, I will be rocking the nWo t-shirt. That is guaranteed. One of the big names that's promised for the Monday Night Raw, Hulk Hogan's birthday, is the nWo making their return to WWE. This, of course, would be their first WWE reunion since 2002, when basically WCW closed up shop. Vince McMahon went along with the WCW versus WWE Invasion storyline, which also involved the ECW. Basically, once that came to an end at Survivor Series, basically, Vince wasn't able to sign a lot of the big name guys. Of course, when you look at the Invasion, you don't see stars like Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Goldberg, Ric Flair. I think that's most of the big names that people always refer to not being there for the Invasion. But then, months after the storyline stopped, the night the storyline stopped, the next night, Ric Flair debuted as one of the co-owners of the WWE, saying that in order for Stephanie and Shane to buy WCW and ECW, he had to step up and buy their shares of WWE, making him a co-owner with Vince McMahon. That along built to a big storyline, which involved Vince McMahon trying to basically kill off the WWE because he didn't want Ric Flair to own it. And one of the things that he had to do was inject it with a lethal dose of cancer. That cancer being the nWo, playing off the sort of name that a lot of wrestling critics had given to Hogan, Hall, and Nash inside WCW, basically turning it into a freak show, making it where, basically the inmates were running the asylum. Once they got there, the nWo, honestly, they came in hot. You got the nWo, No Way Out 2002, they make their debut, which I'm hoping is what they're going to do, is have the nWo reunion sort of in the backstage, with the cameras around. They can do some sort of a deal with them sort of maybe running down the roster, which is funny. It might not be good in the long term, but basically, the nWo walking around, Hulk Hogan asking The Rock to take a picture with him because it's his son's favorite wrestler, and then basically, cutting him down in front of him, saying he's not as big as he looked on TV. Of course, The Rock would then go on to call him Chico, and he would call Kevin Nash Big Daddy Cool, and that was basically setting the tone of getting The Rock versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania in action. Of course, the nWo would run down and cross Stone Cold Steve Austin, the championship, which would Chris Jericho would go on to win, and that would set up Scott Hall versus Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania as well. So that put them in the right way. Hulk Hogan got so over for the fact that Vince McMahon got the idea to break him off of the nWo, make him into a babyface, which people were really clamoring for. They really wanted to cheer him. And basically, once Hulk Hogan left the nWo and it was only Hall and Nash, they added X-Pac. When they did that, I think almost momentarily, like it was almost immediately, Kevin Nash got injured with the bicep injury. They had to sort of keep the nWo going without Kevin. They did add Booker T, which was kind of stupid because Ric Flair, who was the GM of Monday Night Raw at that time, just sort of told Booker, oh yeah, by the way, you're in the nWo now, even though he was having a current storyline where he was looked at as sort of like a comedy wrestler at that point when he was tag teaming up with Goldust. And a lot of fans didn't think that made any sense. He just was a WCW guy they put in there. The Giant would also get put in and try to recreate the magic. And they would get back to where Shawn Michaels would debut sort of as the manager because he wasn't able to wrestle at that time. Kevin Nash came back from the bicep injury to immediately tear his quad. And I think that is basically when when WWE said, we're just going to throw in the towel on the nWo. And that was the last we saw of him in WWE TNA, of course, recreated them with the band, with I think it was X-Pac, Hall, and Nash in 2010. The Hulk Hogan and company thought that was gonna turn some eyes on, and it didn't really work. But you can look at what's going on with the WWE right now. Hogan was there in TNA, and when he came in, it was a lot of excitement. Sting, when he first signed there in 2005-ish, there was a lot of excitement going on there, and then it just wore out because you saw them all the time. I mean, Sting wasn't on every pay-per-view along the way, but Sting was on, I'd say, almost at least 2 out of 3 pay-per-views, maybe even more for them. There was only a few times of the year Sting wouldn't be booked on one of the B shows, and it was hard for them to build up a big match. Of course, I think Bound for Glory is where Sting went undefeated. Did he win at the last one, or did Magnus beat him? I think Magnus finally beat Sting, and he lost his undefeated streak at Bound for Glory, if I think right. But, that was sort of his big deal to make sure he always won that. And, now, Hogan comes into WWE, and here he is, for WrestleMania 30. He comes in, he makes the network announcement on Monday Night Raw to tell everybody to sign up, and everybody goes bananas. They add him to the UK shows, and there's sellouts all over the whole tour. The Japan show isn't having tickets sell that well, so they add Hulk Hogan to them, and all of a sudden those things sell out. So it's kind of weird. When guys are in TNA, they're looked at as if they're yesterday's old news. WWE signs them and puts them in a different light, and all of a sudden they're the freshest people on the block. It's almost like nobody really wanted to see Rob Van Dam in TNA. And then all of a sudden they say he's going to wrestle at Money in the Bank and he's everybody's favorite wrestler again. But I always loved the nWo. I always got great memories of those guys going out there. I think that, what they did in WCW really changed the game. Basically to where the wrestling companies had to, compete against each other. No longer would you see, squash matches on Nitro and Raw because they were actually fighting for each quarter along the way. I think that, you would see realistic matches, I guess is a good thing to say it. You don't see, Ryback versus the guy who delivered the beer truck that night. You actually, you get to see, names that they make along the way. I guess you can look at some guys along the way like jobbers, but they're real superstars that sometimes, just because you lose for a good month doesn't mean you're not going to get a win someday. You might not get a win against Triple H. You might beat Heath Slater or something like that. But I'm pumped for the nWo. I want to see who the other surprise guys are. Like I was saying earlier, I hope they do sort of their deal in the back. Scott Hall, to me, you got to wonder if he's sort of going to be like an Iron Sheik. When he gets the microphone in his hand, or they got to let him say what he wants to say. I know they trusted him. WrestleMania 30, he had Diamond Dallas Page around with him, sort of like as a babysitter. To help him with his time at the Hall of Fame. Of course, Jake Roberts got put in there as well. I remember when Iron Sheik was on Raw, and basically he got the microphone and he just started running his mouth, and they hit the Santino music for Santino to get his butt down there and grab that mic out of the Iron Sheik's hand as fast as possible, because they were scared what he was going to say. And, the stuff about the kid and the birthday card, that sort of scares me. Scott Hall should have known better. But Scott Hall is also a buddy of Triple H. So, what Triple H wants, Triple H is going to get. And I think he is really doing what's best for business. If you look at his shows where he's brought back, nostalgia names, it's all names that people had said, would never be back in WWE. You go back to Raw 1000, you got to see, Psycho Sid come back. And then there's been other names, Jake the Snake Roberts, Scott Hall. These people that were supposedly on this blacklisted list, are coming in and doing things. Of course, I think needing them for the WWE Network, doing interviews and things like that, is also greasing the wheels along the way. But I'm pumped for the nWo. I think this is going to be awesome, and we'll have to see what they do with it along the way. Head on over, buy an nWo shirt on WWE Shop, and we'll get all fired up, grab some black and white boas, we'll play some Jimi Hendrix music, and we'll have a good night. Peace out, everybody.